Welcome back. I am here with Gambit's Edward. Congratulations on that win and locking in second seed in your group. Now, Diamond Prox said when I spoke with them last that you guys play your best when you have your backs against the wall, and you really showed that here today. So what did you think of the team's performance?
Well, I think we today played once again really terrible against G-Rex. I think one of the reasons because we had a plan before the games about draft, but we didn't follow it for some reason, and we gave them Zyra instead of taking for ourselves, and it was a big mistake because we got pretty much smashed on bot lane. We had no control at all. And against KLG, I think they do way too much mistakes, and even though we didn't play super well, we still won the game. So.
And you have a couple days before you get to that knockout stage kind of to prepare. So what really needs to be polished before you get there?
I just think we need to stick to our plans always. It doesn't change anything in last second, like we did today. And get like last preparation about pick and bans and a bit of communication fix.
Well, Edward, thank you so much. And that's it for us here. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Avali. Edward saying, yeah, we can't make the mistakes we did. Well, I'm going to be completely honest. In this form, I do not see Gambit advancing over anyone that is currently slated in first or even second seed. I mean, what do you guys think in just shortly? What would have to change?
Look, he is also frustrated about changing plans mid-game because they're not all in tune with it. There are too many points in that game where it just felt like they weren't all in on it.
Yeah.
If I was a pool 1 seed, I'd be salivating if Gambit was the team that I drew.
Yeah.
I think that's how a lot of people are looking at it right now because they have not been convincing in their wins necessarily, and their 2 losses, they got blasted.
Yeah, and to me, it's more that, you know, we saw Worlds last year, then we saw MSI and how they got here, and I think they looked better in the group stage of MSI than I've seen them here. But of course, they have a couple of days, so I really hope they can get it together and give us a competitive best of 5 in the knockout stage. Let's pull up the standings to see where we are left with the other group as well. As just said, just to reinstate, G-Rex first seed locked, Gambit Esports second seed, both going through to the knockout stage, and now we still have to wrap up Group A. Cloud9 is currently in first place, and if they win their next game over KaBuM, they lock that first place.
And remember, the last one, too, is going to be Detonation Focus, meaning Cloud9. So that one's just going to be super fun to see if Cloud9 can keep composed.
Yeah.
Because that will break any hope for a tiebreaker if that comes through.
That would be true. So KaBuM won their game earlier versus Detonation Focus Me. So if they lose here versus Cloud9, they will have to depend on Detonation Focus Me also losing versus Cloud9 to then have a tiebreaker for it. So things are really up in the air, which I like, because I came into today thinking, okay, if KaBuM doesn't get it together, we're not going to see any action in this group.
I mean, it worked out pretty well. It felt like we were in for some fun in Group C no matter what. Maybe Detonation can challenge C9 for the first seed, or in this case, they're fighting with KaBuM for the second seed. So no matter what, we got some fun coming our way here.
Yeah, so what are we thinking here? C9 versus KaBuM. It was quite a convincing game first time around. KaBuM did look better today.
They look better, but remember, Cloud9 is still one of the best teams coming out of the play-in. So that's still a large task to go for. So I think Cloud9 made their mistakes in the previous games. They will learn from it. Remember, Reaper he wasn't happy last time around. The discipline must be here today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at the draft that they were up against for KaBuM, where they had the enemy team kind of disrespecting them, early picking a lot of crazy stuff. C9 is probably not going to make that mistake, and so I don't know if the Vel'Koz into Soraka is anything like what we're going to see in this game.
Well, we saw a very dicey game of a C9 versus Destination Focus Me on the first day, and also a very interesting pick. So we have a surprise appearance from Jat to break that down for us.
Thank you, Shox. And the pick we're talking about is the Lissandra from Licorice. So according to lawlytics.com, 50% of Lissandras take Arcane Comet, 30% take Electrocute, and only 6% take Aftershock. So a lot of people, when they saw this, were kind of wondering why you may see Aftershock Lissandra. And I wanted to talk about how it actually changes the play pattern a little bit, because it's actually more about buying time in the backline instead of straight one-shotting someone, because obviously you lose a lot of damage without taking Comet or Electrocute on top of being in the Resolve tree, which just gives you health. So the general pattern with what you'd want to do is you E in, you W to get your Aftershock. That lasts about 2.5 seconds. You can get another Q off. Then you're ulted. So after your Armor and MR from Aftershock are off, you self-ult. And then you'll still have Zhonya's. So the Aftershock lasts 2.5 seconds of increased resistance. Your ultimate gives you 2.5 seconds of stasis and healing, and your Zhonya's gives you 2.5 seconds. So you're buying 7 to 10 seconds of time in the backline where you can sometimes be 1 or 2v3ing. And there's also one small interaction I want to talk about, because this is what Licorice did in that game. So a lot of people when the Lissandra self-ults know that the damage spreads throughout. But what they don't necessarily realize is if anything enters this circle during the 2.5 seconds, they immediately take damage. So if someone presses Zonias as Lissandra jumps in, and you just self-ult on top of them, as soon as they come out of Zonias, they're gonna take damage. So if I'm placing dummies inside here, as soon as they spawn, they're actually taking that 476 damage. So these are some of the things to watch out for with Aftershock Lissandra. If we watch Licorice in his game yesterday, we can see some of the small things he did, both when avoiding ganks. In one of the first clips, he procs his Aftershock, then is easily able to escape the gank. You can see that happening right here on the screen. This actually bought him enough time to be able to get the first blood. Then the final fight, this is that Zonias interaction I talked about actually. Ziggs presses Zonias, then Licorice goes into stasis, and then he's taking the damage right as soon as he comes out of it, and Cloud9 ends up turning the game around in that really decisive play. And I actually feel like Lissandra is really good for Licorice, because another pick that actually focuses on not building tank, but still being extremely disruptive in the backline is Aatrox, and everyone picks Aatrox, including Licorice, who picked it in game 1. So he obviously crushed in this game with it. We didn't find a team fight that had the same play as the Lissandra game because it wasn't necessarily as close, but Aatrox is another one of those champions who doesn't build tank, but can serve great frontline functions thanks to the ultimate and the guaranteed revive passive of forcing people to deal with you. So Lissandra's a pick he can do with Aftershock, Aatrox is a pick, Urgot is ultimately another one of those picks, and I can't wait to see what else Licorice has in store, whether it's a Hecarim or something completely new. So let's send out to the casters to get us into the game.
Thank you very much, Jack, for keeping it cool on the Rift, and welcome to the 4th game of the day. I'm Riv the III here to announce my newest venture with Jake Spawn Tiberi, our buddy cop comedy, Riv and Rue. Are you ready to hop into this one?
Yeah, certainly are, and this is going to be a spicy game as we're going to jump onto the Rift for KaBuM versus Cloud9. KaBuM actually kind of turned it around this morning, and I'm very excited about this Rift because it's a similar trajectory to MSI play-ins, and if they can just make this one more upset, this group gets very spicy.
And it felt good for KaBuM in that way because everybody came together. Zantins, DyNquedo, Cheaton, all kind of making plays around the Rift, and that's what you're going to need against Cloud9. We heard the analyst desk saying, yeah, they've shored up a few of the problems, but even Jensen was saying, we should not have won that game against Detonation Focus Me.
Yeah, but I think the really nice thing about this Cloud9 roster is the maturity that they're showing. The interviews are saying, you know what, we're realists. That game was one that we brought back from the brink. You know, you have a chat about what role the rookies need to play, and they're very grounded around that. And then you even do things like listen to their team comms like we were able to do in the pre-show, and they just seem very calm throughout the process. So this seems to me like a very well-drilled team, a team that really isn't getting caught off on surprises all that much. And I think that if they give KaBuM the respect that they deserved, this should still be a very heavily C9 favored game like we saw the first time around.
Absolutely. And I think those comms are funny as well when, as you were saying, they're cool, calm, and collected. Everybody was kind of cheering and having fun as they took the Nexus, and Sneaky, the veteran of the team, kind of knew what was going on, the trouble that they had to go through, and was like, oh boy. Oh boy. So they know as they come into this next game 2-0. 2 wins here would put a extra game into this group for KaBuM and Detonation Focus Me. So we'll see if they can get that done here.
Yeah, because the big thing is if KaBuM goes to 2-2, then DeadFM must win their last game of the day against C9 to be able to pull that back into a tiebreaker. That also puts us into a 3-way tie, which is a very strange situation. However, if Cloud9 do the expected thing and take out this victory, then it is on KaBuM hoping that Detonation Focus Me is not able to replicate some of the feats they have in game 1, but drag it across the line. So really a lot on the line for this one. If the group goes as expected and Cloud9 goes, you know, 4-0, we will have that tiebreaker, but they certainly haven't looked unchallenged in this group so far.
No, we think of the KaBuM run before. Najin White Sword defeated, then Alliance defeated. 2 teams people thought KaBuM could never beat, so it could happen here again. First phase of bans are done. And we see a lot of focus down towards that support and jungle position.
Yeah, and I think this is really nice, just banning away one of the OPs in the top lane in the Aatrox, because it does open up the Urgot. And I was actually speaking to Vedius, as this is a trade that he thinks more people should make often, is being able to gamble on, okay, we're going to take out one. If you take out the other, then we have something else we can run, like the Xayah Rakan, maybe something like a Tahm Kench.
But if they don't rise to that bait, being able to take the Urgot or the Aatrox is just such a powerful pick at the moment.
See what Licorice will have in his hands to go up against the Urgot this game. We do have the Lissandra locked in once again with that Kaisa for Sneaky.
Yeah, and I wonder if it is just going to once again be the Lissandra top lane that Licorice goes towards. And this is something that I'm interested in because the bruisers in Aatrox as well as Urgot seem to just bully around the tanks. You know, they've got the wave clear, they've got this persistent damage. You know, they both build Black Cleaver, so it's hard to stand up in the lanes. However, pushing mages like the Lissandra, like the Rumble, can go toe-to-toe because they're bruisers in their own right. And Licorice does seem to have a good grasp on how to play these matchups.
His offense and defense, which is absurd from a rookie as well, rookie of the split, no less, of the NALCS, is amazing. And Lissandra gives him the safety, as you say, to push. You can just claw right out. We're looking at KaBuM Esports to lock in the Leblanc, playmaking in the mid, and Zantins Tristana, a very big pickup for him.
Yeah, it certainly is. However, this is a lane that we're going to see again, and not one of my favorite lanes I've seen so far at the World's Play-ins, because Tristana doesn't have the best range advantage against the Kaisa. You know, doesn't necessarily out-push at every stage of the laning phase either. And we've just seen that if Kaisa gets towards that late game stage, is pretty unrivaled in the team fights at the moment. And Sneaky's played it a couple times already, has a couple of victories underneath his belt. One of the hard carries for this Cloud9 roster, now once again going to have a team fighting 80 carry. It's just one of those things that maybe the gauntlet has been thrown one too many times.
Well, that's exactly what C9 love. It's the gauntlet, right? That's how they get here. NA's third seed, the gauntlet runs. And we'll see how it plays out for him. Nocturne is going to get locked in. Blaber goes a little bit more towards the aggression. I should say a little more. He's always towards that aggression, and they will get that as the Kindred also banned, and mostly banned against Cloud9.
Yeah, and getting some exciting pinches here. You know, the support champion pool. The Leona ban may hint the fact that they want to go towards something like a Rakan, maybe like an Alistar fight some fire with fire down. The Alistar actually banned away, so probably going to be the Rakan, and see whether this continues to go deep or whether they make the pivot here.
What will they hit from Zeyzal? His Braum is huge, still on the board. You can easily see that last ban. His Thresh also got a few bans, as well as he was kind of crushing through solo queue as they got to Korea.
And Riyev shown that he's willing to play the Thresh as well at the same time, and it's actually going to be the Rakan ban, so maybe wanting to force something like a Braum versus Thresh matchup here. And we've seen one range support so far, the Soraka. It actually had a very good laning phase, but afterwards did fall off. That was from Vivid. So also the ability to go deeper into the champion pool, I think, for some of these players that have been around for a while.
There's that Thresh lock-in, so a little bit of the playmaking all around. KaBuM's gonna have to realize things change around 6. And they have to realize a Nocturne's gonna be coming in. What can kind of mitigate that? What can fight back and be very big, especially at that curve in the game? Braum for safety for Cheetan in the bot lane. And we're looking for that jungler.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some cool interactions you can have with Tristana Braum, being able to jump on people's heads. Interested in what the jungler is. You know, potentially could just be a little bit of control with the Gragas. Could also be maybe just some hard farming, get something like the Olaf. I'd like to see a skirmisher like Zeyzal, if I'm going to be honest, just because of the fact that they do have some fight-heavy lanes, but not going to be the case.
No, going to be all for the team fights there and setting them up. Sejuani locked in for Ranger here. We've seen him be, I say, aggressive on his picks more so. Olaf and Talia so far, so now that Sejuani puts a little bit of tank in that mix.
Yeah, it certainly does, and I mean, I understand why they've done it. They do need some team fight to be able to come out at the latter stages of this game, but I just think one of the ways you can look to exploit these teams is by picking the heavy brawlers. If you've got an assassin and a bruiser top side of the map, Zeyzal makes a lot of sense to me. Also can take it to Blaber. At the same time, this is a pretty standard draft coming out of Cloud9. You know, they round it out with the Galio. They have some nice team fight. They have some great backline initiation with the fact that they've got a Nocturne as well as the Galio. And it's going to allow Blaber to play that aggressive game. So I think that Reapid has done actually a fantastic job at giving Cloud9 a really clear avenue to win this game.
Each one of these champions is very much so, I guess Lissandra now, a wheelhouse champion for Cloud9, as you're saying. KaBuM is going to have the work cut out for him. Zantins getting that Urgot, as we said, will be big. Can he play up against this Lissandra that I'm pretty sure most Urgots haven't matched up against yet?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things about these flex picks that can really play mind games with you, is if you're not familiar with how the 1v1 goes, especially when you add things like Aftershock and Spellbook and all the variety into the laning phase, does come down to, those microsecond decision-making and see whether he's up to the task. Certainly had a better game this morning versus Detonation Focus Me on the Aatrox, just split pushing them to victory. Want to talk about kind of the role that Kaisa plays in these compositions, because one of the weaknesses of dive comps was if the support doesn't stay with the AD carry's in some trouble. Kaisa changed that dynamic a lot because she gets a massive shield off her ultimate and is able to follow through. We sort of paired a lot with Yasuo's and the like in the LCK because everyone was just able to get in. And I think that that puts a lot of pressure on KaBuM, because now if they mix execute once, if Galio gets in the backline, the rest of the team is going to come with them, and they don't have really an out-and-out tank outside of that Sejuani. So, the likes of Chitan, the likes of DyNquedo need to be very careful in these 5v5 team fights.
Gonna have to keep protection on those carries. KaBuM, the only team to represent the Brazilian region at Worlds more than once, now going up against Cloud9 again. A team that has made Worlds since their inception in 2013. And really just carrying Sneaky from that roster, but the pedigree stays for these guys. With the skill, always bringing themselves to Worlds. Can they keep a clean score here through the play-ins?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that Cloud9 haven't dropped a game, but certainly have been bloodied on the way here. First game of the second day for them. Need to shake off some rust, maybe. KaBuM, on the other hand, they're warmed up. They took their first victory, and this should be a relatively free game for KaBuM. They should be able to play quite relaxed because the favorites is Cloud9, and they would still be the favorites going into Dead FM. So if everything remains unchanged, KaBuM is still guaranteed their tiebreak game. So this is kind of the free shot to get out of groups, and we'll see whether they can make it stick.
Ooh, hopping on to Zeyzal to start things off. Rocket jump,
Gonna get
play
a
for
flash.
him. Concussive blows, locks down. They're gonna have to get the fat part of the wall to flash over, and he does nicely. Doesn't get stopped on that one. It can be tricky. And he finds himself safety, but at that cost of a flash.
Yeah, you might wonder why didn't they flash after? With the exhaust, certainly not going to be able to guarantee that kill by any stretch of the imagination. Don't really know who's hiding over the wall, but that is very cute from Chitan. We talked about it already, but the interactions that come through from Tristana jumping in, Braum's follow-up, a lot of damage at the early stages of the game is carried into that passive. And now without a flash, they can really target that bottom lane.
That's fantastic homework by KaBuM. I mean, yeah, they kind of go outside the box, but how many people are going to jump your AD carry into just nothing at the beginning of the game? Absolutely crazy from these guys to get a little bit advantage in that bot lane. And we'll see the junglers now opposite sides of the map as they start off.
Yeah, and for those that didn't catch the pre-show today, we talked a lot about these support mages versus the likes of the assassins and why we're seeing more and more. And I think it is because a lot of the mages and mid lane picks we're seeing at the moment are the Yasuos, the Leblancs, the Aurelias. And then the easiest way to kind of shut those down is by big team fighting presences in the likes of Karma, Lulu, Zilli, and Galio. And I've been so impressed by Jensen because in the past you would have said, control mage player, aggressive, also known for things like his fizz back in the day.
Yep.
But I think that he really has adapted to Blaber being on the lineup and shown how much of a veteran he is by being able to play that facilitator role that the team needs. And I think that, this game is another one of those strings that you can add to the bow because he was playing aggressive picks like the Ryze, like the Aurelia, but now goes back to the support mid lane. And he's just going to look to control around the rookie jungler.
It became one of the things that Cloud9 was overall known for throughout the season, is being able to change that swap of Jensen and Blaber, or Golden Blue, and, Svenskeren. But knowing that Jensen could also vary his champion pool, like you were saying, became a huge point for keeping him in and also seeing how that group worked.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Ranger had watched the Dead FM game versus Cloud9 because just backs away from that range. And he's going to be a little bit of an invade coming through. Nothing really happening as they trade sides on the map, although DyNquedo wants to have something to say about that potentially.
Like he is safe in lane. No real push for the mid lane minions, so nobody can step out too early to give that aggression. Things starting off pretty safe all around, all things considered. Licorice not drawing too much pressure, but that's what kind of we were saying with him. Good offense, good defense, and he absorbs so much at times that it allows Jensen, Sneaky, and Zeyzal to just kind of have a free map.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what we're seeing right now is just farming lanes. And when you have a look at the teamfight presence that's going to come out of Cloud9, they're going to be happy with that all day long, They feel like they have the veterancy. They feel like at the moment they've got the easier composition to execute upon. Now it becomes up to Ranger, potentially at that level 6 mark to try and get into the lanes, try and impact, or whether they can just set up some plays around neutral objectives. Because one thing KaBuM has been able to do very well in the CB LoL is control that mid-game portion. Not necessarily something that is easy to do on the world stage, because once again, you're going against the best of other regions as well, but certainly one of their strengths domestically.
Team to get to kind of Baron very fast, and with their Baron power play numbers, close out the game quicker than most. It's a question though, is will Cloud9 allow them to get to Baron fast? What position are they in when they have to play from behind? And I think that's what we actually have seen KaBuM do very well, is kind of recuperate from bad moments. Here, DyNquedo getting a bit of damage as Jensen throws out the taunt, but KaBuM, as we said, that mentality being at the right spot is something you have to have here on the world stage.
Blaber liking this top lane, Riv.
Slowly coming in. Looks like they're going to get the force splash here on Zantins. He tries to get away from the terror, but he will not. Trying to flee in the right direction, but it's not going to help anyways. Blood in the water for Blaber and Licorice.
And one more time, that's just a beautiful setup. They stay persistent with their game plan, which was obviously get Licorice ahead. And they just read the gank very well. You know, they play it very nicely and able to pick up that first blood. And now with that, they're going to have the push. I mean, this is just Zantins trying to make the turret hit. Probably wants his first shot by this stage of the game. Has to use the flash to get the full length of the dash, and they just flash in front of him, guarantee all of the CC in the world. And, you know, it's the little things, but you just like to see the ganks played the right way, and that was very well played by Licorice and Blaber.
Very calm, cool, and collected. Now Ranger is trying to do that on the bot side, but realizes he was hatching a ward as Sneaky throws out a Void Seeker. Bags of money going left and right. 41 to 45 in that lane, as it hasn't had too much aggression from the jungle.
Yeah, and I thought that that was where we're going to see some fireworks, because generally if you take out a Thresh's flash, not going to always be able to go aggressive. But at the same time, you know, Blaber put some good pressure on top side of the map, maybe made Ranger's job of where he wants to go a little bit more difficult, playing to the tune of Cloud9's jungler as opposed to his game plan, and it is much easier to execute on all the CC that's going to come out of a Lissandra lane. So certainly advantage Cloud9 early in this one. And as I said, I think that the game gets easier as it goes on. I think the ball really is in KaBuM's hands to be able to make some of these plays work. See whether they're able to do it, Riv, because right now looks like it's going to be a rough early game.
Well, rough is kind of what KaBuM knew. A team that has been able to make to the finals of 2017. Holding thought. Jensen's forced to go out taunt again and pull DyNquedo into turret possibly. But we saw that KaBuM was actually relegated to their challenger circuit at one point, and Riyev and Zantins was on the team at that time. They've said that that was almost an imperative time, an essential time for those guys to understand how to use that emotion, come back, understand that you can get back to a point where now they've won 2 seasons, are at Worlds. Zantins said that's unbelievable to him. So they kind of know how to get through these trials and tribulation times if they have to.
Yeah, absolutely. You need a cool head, and they had a cool head at MSI as they were able to come back on the final day.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough, but still able to turn it into a respectable score. And I think this time around, they need to be able to do something similar. DyNquedo has been able to force Jensen back a couple of times so far. Hasn't built himself a meaningful lead, just thanks to that teleport and how kind of obnoxious Galio is as he gets to stack up some of those defensive stats the first time around.
Very obnoxious.
But if he's able to get free access to the lane, that's when you can start leaving, go top, try and pick on this pushing Lissandra, who is currently flashless. Maybe get into the bottom lane and see if he can make something work. And it looks like, once again, KaBuM on the right page here with the gank.
Oh, what a dodge on the Glacial Prison. Gets the claw out beautifully, and he's going to be able to just sidestep any damage. That's Licorice absorbing the pressure. Cloud9 has control over Drake.
And I just want to juxtapose the ganks that came through. Blaber flashes to guarantee CC in the first gank. This time around, there's a little bit of a trade in the mid lane. Jensen chunking out DyNquedo very nicely. This time around, Ranger not willing to burn the summoner spell. So they don't get any of the CC to stick, and that means Licorice can just walk it out. He's already picked up the boots too, Riv. He's going up against no boots top laner. Once that CC misses, there's no way Zantins can actually stick in that fight. And I just think that, you know, that is that little bit of inexperience. Burn the summoner spell, guarantee your CC, make sure you can pick up these kills.
Jensen, Justice Punch down to safety. He's actually going to be walking through quite a bit of vision. That is C9's So Ranger actually doesn't know where he's going, how to track this until they get to the pink ward. Not seeing him just yet. Zeyzal's gonna kind of coin this, that C9 does have the pressure. 4 on the bot side versus 3, and none of them can see. Blaber's under the turret. It's gonna have to be a jump out from Chitan, and now he's trying to get the safety in the brush. Shots onto Blaber, almost taking him down, but it is such a scatter from KaBuM as Cloud9 finally picks up kill number 1. Riyev's low, Ignite takes him down from Zeyzal, and C9 put the pressure on.
Yeah, and they're going to look to continue the first turret. Hook goes wide, but it still looks like they want to continue the pressure here. Very well executed dive, getting all 5 members down into that bottom lane. Cloud9 looking very coordinated.
They're going to stay for a few more minions, make sure that wave is pushed all the way in. And what buys can come from this? That was already a BS sword for Sneaky, so return on investment. Let's see it again, your Acer Predator replay.
Yeah, and this is KaBuM thinking they're safe because they're already cheating Leblanc down here. They've got Ranger on the bottom side of the map. They think even in a 5v4, we should be okay. However, because they don't respond immediately with that teleport, the Darkness is going to deny the Urgot any chance to join this fight. And as Licorice is the last person through, and still deceptively tanky with this Aftershock, with the ability to use the ultimate, KaBuM try to chase a loss. And once they're out underneath that turret, it's just going to be a clean Cloud9 win. And as you said, off the back end of it, big purchases coming in, you know, already a Storm Ranger, already the makeup of that Hextech Proto Belt, and Cloud9, you know, with a 1,500 gold lead at only 10 minutes into the game, looking to cement themselves as the top dog.
They brought the fight to KaBuM there, just about 9 minutes in. KaBuM playing a little bit of repair now. Blue over to DyNquedo. He's going to go ahead and farm up mid, 91 to 88. Not too bad there, but we haven't seen him have a lane. You can't kill Galio. Leblanc wants to get these assassinations in soon.
And the great thing about having a comp like Cloud9's right now is they can go towards a 1-3-1. They can set up 3 pushing lanes if the map does deteriorate quickly. And they will be able to shove in and, you know, pressure that mid lane turret with their semi-globals. But at the same time, by no stretch of the imagination is this a comp that can't team fight. So KaBuM are kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Do we try and force them out of the lane? Do we try and lane swap? You know, are we trying to force around the bottom lane where we still feel like we might have some presence because there's no summoner spells available? Right. But they just haven't been able to make that right choice so far.
Ultimate use bot lane here for Chitan. It looks like Blaber really likes that factor. And they put themselves close. What a hook from Zeyzal. It may not activate anything just yet, as they are also weary of where Ranger could be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at how low HP Sneaky is.
Oh, really?
It's just veterancy. That's map awareness for you.
Absolutely. Ridiculous.
Same time, they're cheating DyNquedo over here as well. This could still be a fight, Riv.
They're going to try to say anything you can do, I can do better. And it has not worked for the ganks. Nice denial of vision there. Jensen's just on the other side. He doesn't even have to use the entrance. There's going to be the hit. Passive shot. Does take down Chitan. And now they're going to be onto Rangers. He's just a little too far forward. It seems like they can get themselves into position. C9's happy with that advantage.
Yeah, very nicely done from DyNquedo actually to return that kill onto Blaber. So that means this turret is still going to be under fire. Jensen trying to save it.
Feel like that fight could come back in. Blaber on 9 seconds. His ultimate is still down, obviously, as he tried to use it in the fight. So 1 for 1, they take down Chitan again, and Blaber falls for the first time this game. Another hook from Zeyzal. Looking pretty good on that ratio right now. Get the flash out of Ranger. So these fights are so long and extended. They just keep kind of trying to bring the batting order back up to do some damage as Jensen and DyNquedo take a nice long walk on the beach back to mid.
And you can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, we want to get the Tristana out of lane. Let's force around the bottom lane turret. Let's try and take down some structures. We will win any kind of push race. And that means that Jensen must defend. So he's using every tool he has in his kit to try and keep them off these turrets. He's just losing out on some trades, however, and that means DyNquedo has a lot of freedom to help the bottom lane.
Here it is again.
You can see he gets there first. They're able to get some crucial tools out of Blaber. But as you mentioned, Zeyzal is just playing the Thresh to a very high level. This is what we wanted to see as it was locked in. And if that trade wasn't there, they would have been able to continue the fight. They had the utility to be able to go for it. But KaBuM ultimately get the reward they're looking for. They ultimately do get that bottom lane turret and now can mobilize around the map.
Vision priority over bot. Even getting that pink ward forward so they can have it. Looks like they want to actually start getting some turrets down fast here with the priority they're holding lanes with. pushing forward. A little bit of tri-brush as well.
Yeah, and the great thing for KaBuM this game is that 2 Ocean Drakes, they're going to help out your laning phase. But, you know, laning phase nearly ended. Does help out protracted sieges and, you know, maybe battles for vision. But if they get another turret here and can translate that into a Rift Herald at the same time, actually they're going to go forward for a game.
Flash disdain. Claw out. Not even close, baby.
No, it certainly wasn't. I mean, I maybe thought that the Tristana was a little bit closer. Thought that Cheetah might want to use some abilities to get in. Also could just be trying to deny the HP and make sure that they win out on this pushing battle, because as I said, the real victory here would be if they also can turn it into a Rift Herald, because that would nearly guarantee the mid lane turret. And it doesn't look like Sneaky or Zeyzal are actually moving to defend that objective.
One down top, a good rotation from KaBuM, as we're saying, allows this to go down nice and easy. Definitely seems like KaBuM has said we need to actually break these lanes as much as possible with the aggression we were feeling from just the bot lane and as well not being able to hit Licorice.
But Cloud9 have also done the right thing. They've said, okay, they're going to start jockeying for position. They're going to start trying to trade. We think that we outscale. We think that we have a good late game. So, you know what? We're happy with the trade. As long as we're going to maintain our gold lead, which they currently are, as long as we can continue to stack up dragons, you know, potentially put on the table an Elder Drake victory win condition, then we're not going to buy into their game. We're not going to actually fight fire with fire. We're not going to have a 5 versus 5 team fight at only 15 minutes into the game. We're just going to stick to the game plan, and we're going to slowly continue to build this incremental gold lead.
Becomes incredibly hard when you're just called on your bluff. What's the next move for KaBuM to say you have to fight us? Do you throw 5 people at one position and hope you don't lose the other side of the map race?
I mean, at this point in the game, you kind of got what you wanted. You get a little bit more of a pushing map. Looks like they want bottom lane, however.
Zantins not feeling too good about this one. Nice distance on the disdain. Does get him to safety, though. He does have to use flash as Rift Herald is used middle for that pressure bot.
Yeah, and this is what we're talking about, is you got the map broken up.
There's
now
a
you
little
have
bit
Rift
of it.
Herald. You can try and take mid lane turret. You're going to equalize the gold. I think that was a force coming at Cloud9 that they didn't necessarily have, and it might also cost them a second turret.
Letting him know he's there. Licorice throws a Q in at KaBuM on the second tier mid. He's going to head back top lane and get some farm going on here. But KaBuM with a nice tactic. They're not waiting to kind of activate these things, which Cloud9 will pressure very hard. Cloud9 will see that you're waiting.
But the good news here is that KaBuM's been able to get Cheetah to every single turret take. So he's building up this goal on the Tristana, on the hyper carry. He's going to have to shred through, you know, a tanky Jensen, but that's kind of where the tank line ends. We've already heard from Jat the way that Licorice is, you know, pseudo-bruiser. Lissandra is going to work in this situation, but certainly not the same as a pure tank. That's a face check.
Let's see if he can make it out of this one. That's going to be the tomb down, and so is Licorice. He's going to make DyNquedo happy on that one, and the pressure finally pays off topside. 2-0, saying DyNquedo needs to get this Leblanc going, and he has put 2 on the board.
Yeah, he certainly has, and this is something that I criticized Cloud9 for actually on day one, is when not every person is visible on the map and you have incomplete vision control. They've just walked from top lane to Rift Herald to mid lane, so you have to assume that they have vision in your topside jungle. So they're going to feel free to be able to walk through all of that space and set up some traps. The way you combat that is push in, make sure the other 2 waves hit turret, be patient with your lane. Licorice a little bit impatient, face checks the brush, falls down. That guarantees some more farm. That stops the push that's going to come in this mid lane. And now it's actually KaBuM with a very meaningful lead, just because of the last 2 mistakes that Cloud9 have made. You know, ganking Zantins in the bottom lane and also face testing that top lane brush from Licorice means that, you know, the pressure is starting to mount here.
That KaBuM global taunt is coming back. How much does it play on C9's mentality? Probably none right now, but it's fun to think about that KaBuM makes these runs now, representing Brazil again, and can go through 2 extremely powerful teams to find themselves in a great position.
And I still think that Cloud9 are finer in this game, right? It's only 600 gold. They're still building towards their objectives. But this early game just really has shown that the play-in regions are starting to get their macro game under control. They're starting to play at least a similar game of League of Legends. They're not just playing deathball. If we kill them, we'll be able to win the game. You know, they're down in scoreline, but they're up 3 turrets to 1. Positioning very nicely around the map. And once again, Cloud9, they've traded it for some dragons. But certainly need to be aware of KaBuM's ability now to take, you know, maybe a 20, 21-minute team fight and try and transition that into maybe a Baron, maybe a little bit more bottom side control, because that's what Zantins was able to do against Dead Nation Focus Team.
So far, so good. We did see Zantins just go down on the bot side in a solo. Actually, say get out of that in a solo, which brings to mention the fact that KaBuM actually has, whoops, some of the most isolated deaths in their region. So to kind of stave that off here for the finals, for the play-ins, for their regional finals and whatnot, kind of bringing that play here was something they absolutely needed.
Yeah, and there's kind of two kinds of, you know, isolated deaths, and that is, you know, one of them where it's a problem because you're getting picked off because you're not rotating well, your macro is a bit of a mess, and they do have some of them, don't get me wrong, you know, Chitan, DyNquedo, sometimes you just wonder why they are on the map. Other times you have isolated deaths because you're snowballing a mid-game hard, and maybe your mid laner says, you know what, you're pushing that turret, I'm going to try and look for the stylish outplay, and you fall down because, you know, that's just what happens sometimes, Riv. You know, you can't blame the guys. But I will say that the nice thing is as this tournament has progressed, young players like Chitan have started to be a little bit more reserved. You know, and he's 0-2-1 right now, but he's up that 20-odd CS. He's got himself to Widen. He's an Infinity Edge and maybe a Last Whisper, although not as crucial in this game without a super tank, away from being a big threat. And this is once again going to be an AP Galio coming out of Jensen. So even he won't really be able to stand in front of this Tristana.
Yeah. I'm ready for those moments, though, of the Chitan craziness, where we see him kind of jump into the fog of war to start off a level 1 and see if somebody's there, like Blaber.
But that's a calculated risk, right? Because we haven't seen any level 1 shenanigans apart from one game, which was a topside invade that came out of KaBuM. So they know that most teams are just fanning out. They've kind of watched through the VODs. They know that if they're going to win this game, they need to take calculated risks. And they've been able to do that so far. And once again, this is just respect, the push and pull of the map. No control, they actually go for the fight.
Rinse and repeat onto Licorice. Tomb is in. They're going to get nearsighted, though, so they may not be able to finish it. There's the Zanya's effect that Jat was talking about as well. He's able to live for so long, get the back line to the front line now, and they're going to be able to take out Ranger on the turnaround kill.
But the rest of the team is collapsing. This is still a fight that KaBuM look like they want to take.
A great pinch now from the river. It's going to be Licorice on the other side as well. They have him in between. Chitan goes for a big hit onto Licorice. It's going to explode. Will he live? And Licorice stays alive. Just a sliver of health. Now it's Sneaky coming in with Killer Instinct to draw the attention. Blaber goes into Zanya's as Sneaky tries to deny vision in the brush, and Blaber goes down. KaBuM is chasing Cloud9 back to their base, and DyNquedo is looking for Sneaky in the brush. He finds the kill, and KaBuM come up huge.
And this is exactly what you didn't want if you're a Cloud9 fan. That means that the Baron is going to be up and available. 25 seconds still on Blaber, and this could be KaBuM's window.
Relentless from KaBuM, and as you said, a little reserved in their play to make sure it can come out right. The lengthy fights are going in favor of KaBuM here, and Jensen and Licorice now approach Baron. Ranger just on the other side for the smite secure, so it's not exactly the 50-50. Nocturne ult is down even if Blaber comes up in 1 second. Riyev close to going down, but he gets the shield and he's safe. That's going to be Zantins low, Chitan low. They're all in the pit still. Licorice forced to use the stopwatch once again as Jensen starts to take shots. And they will lose Chitan in that fight along with Zantins.
And they both live on the back end. Jensen and Licorice play that to perfection. And now maybe the shoe's on the other foot. No, Sneaky going bottom lane. They take that big sigh of relief as they force KaBuM off.
Absolutely imperative play from Cloud9. It had to work, and now they have the pressure in mid lane. As you said, Sneaky clears up the bot and a bit of breathing room here after the game was just tied at 5-5 for that Baron.
And that looked like it was the play, but Chitan went over the wall. There was just a couple of things that didn't really add up there, Riv, but really you do just have to sit back and admire how well they played it. This started off a little bit ugly because Chitan jumps in, wants Licorice, flashes forward but pushes him away, and look how much damage he needs to pick up the kill. He just lives sub 100 health. Sneaky going in, trying to force a distraction. And that's kind of where the fight swings back, because now it's a big numbers mismatch, you know, already a member dead. Licorice forced back to base, looking for a way to teleport back in. DyNquedo and Titan able to clean up the back end of the team fight. But that rush of blood, kind of the double-edged sword, because then the Baron play afterwards looked like it was going to go so well, but got very ugly quick.
Here that is again as well.
Because here they are, you know, Ranger's not tanking it. So they're all losing crucial health bar. And then as soon as Cheetan goes out of the pit, there's no consistent damage left. So he feels like he has to come back in. Of course, if you're behind Baron, you take increased damage. And it's actually ultimately Baron, as well as a nice Q coming out of Jensen that's able to pick him up. And the fact that Licorice lived on the back end is, you know, insult to injury almost. As KaBuM thought they had everything there.
The instant potion as he came out. Stopwatch is almost ready as well. Ultimate's up, and those kind of sync with each other quite nicely, just off by a few seconds. So you're always expecting that from Licorice. And it allows him to make the plays the team said he was calling before, too, for these flanks. But can they start to come together a little better here? KaBuM seems to be really on fire for the fights. C9 back to safety, wards on their side of the map around that Baron area. It is becoming the position to jockey for, and really could be the point to break the game.
Yeah, and I mean, Zantins still looks like he's tanky enough. So I think that they still have windows where they can fight, and maybe actually one of them could be in the top lane here.
Quick hit. It looks like DyNquedo's gonna live on this one. Jensen very low, but he stays alive. Blaber now looking good, and KaBuM is just going through the lineup. One fight after the other as C9 is not as ready as they think they are.
Yeah, one more time, that's a jungler falling down. Blaber thought he could get in there, save Jensen's life. He did that, but at the cost of his own. No Baron going to be the objective this time, but you can see KaBuM with that, you know, mobility, with the ability to get to these fights very quickly, is able to eke Cloud9 out.
So just holding off 3 Ocean Drakes. Cloud9 can kind of stay out, avoid these fights. They did so well in the early game. 3-4-man dive on the bot side kind of escalated what Cloud9 was able to do. That was traded back by a dive by KaBuM as well. So a decently active early game slowed down. Now we have that 7-6 where KaBuM is really starting to fire back. 25 minutes. Infernal Drake is next. See if Cloud9 can keep control on that objective with Baron looming over this game.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time, you know, play towards your win conditions, and I think that KaBuM actually did a great job of that. You know, we've got a quicker turret pusher, we're going to build raw AD, we have ourselves a Tristana, let's play towards that. And I think that Cloud9 were doing a good job of slowing the game down, but have kind of lost sight of that in the last couple of minutes, getting caught out. And it looks like there's going to be another potential catch coming in one more time.
Not too much movement for the rest of the team. Looks like it's just going to be a Lantern if possible. He's saying, I'll be down. Grab this, friend. And they are out safely.
Yeah, so not able to land the chains. No CC coming in that time. But now the game gets a little bit more dangerous because you've actually got yourself an Infinity Edge built up by Cheetana. You can see how back and forward this game has been already. Always within that 3,000 gold mark. 1,500 either way. This looks like it's going to actually be some explosive team fight. That's a base check.
Heck yeah, usually you want to get off the wild ride, but can we go for another round, please? 6-7, still no kills coming out of there. Stopwatches, looking at the summoner spells that are up. Zeyzal's flash is down, I think, actually to get safety over to Jensen on that last play. So it is going to be down to the wire here. Everybody has everything to use. Sneaky getting jumped on with Rocket Jump. And Cheetan is really starting to pull out all this stuff. They know he doesn't have jump, so Blaber wants to go in immediately. They say Sneaky and him can take him down. Blaber still has that stopwatch, but he's going to be suppressed and taken down. Fear Beyond Death. He's coming up from Guardian Angel, rather. And now it's Zantins going to be taken down. Good hits onto Ranger, but he quickly Arctic assaults the safety. A chase from Jensen, and DyNquedo is in their face.
They got him.
Blaber goes down eventually. Riyev, as this fight is scattered, just finding members that cannot get out of the fight fast enough. From C9 onto KaBuM, and that is a 3-for-1.
And that could be a crucial pick, actually, from DyNquedo at the end, because it took down Blaber, which means the jungler not there. If Ranger can get within distance of this pit, that's going to be a smite battle that he can win. Cloud9 probably have to look for the turn here, Riv.
They're getting pretty healthy as well. At least Licorice, he's staying off Baron with that Ocean Drake triple, getting him healthy. DyNquedo from one side, he gets hooked. Zeyzal has been hitting all of the hooks. Roping in KaBuM, and it is going to be a 28-minute Baron for Cloud9 after taking down 3 members of KaBuM in an incredibly mid-scattered fight.
And they even wait for the jungler to come back up. There's going to be a
great timing.
Dragon in a minute, and Cloud9 finally get the team fight they're looking for. You said you wanted to see more of the aggressive
Let's
Cheetan.
go.
I said, please no. We got to see it. He jumps in and he plays the Iron Price. Just gets taken down. You know, you think this could be the fight they're looking for, but because of the GA, you know, no fear coming out there. Zantins, very tanky. It takes a while for him to go down, but ultimately not tanky enough. And That's just inexperience. I said he's done such a good job of suppressing that instinct of wanting to go for the highlight reel plays. But unfortunately, that one cost him a lot.
You know, it's funny because one of the first plays after watching a few VODs that I saw of him going crazy was Shox' tweet, and Cheetan is crazy, diving under the turret, doing things just like that. And man, you know it's still in there. It's still kind of lit, the fuse. He is ready to go forward. Zeyzal and DyNquedo saying hello. Sneaky with a beautiful dodge there to stop the initial damage from coming in.
Yeah, but the good news is that they've now pushed them towards the top side of the map. Dragon coming up in 5 seconds, so they know that they have a late rotation. There is a potential to just try and chunk this one out. It's going to be the first real meaningful Dragon of the game in that Infernal, and I'm sure Cloud9 would love it. But you got to really respect the poise of Cloud9 of just pinging back and pinging out turrets.
You know what they need to do. Avoid the fights until they find the one they want, at least right now. Cheetan and DyNquedo. They're kind of the two we were looking at. With a Braum, a Sejuani, and an Urgot, did they have enough to power through this team of C9? So far, so good for KaBuM. They're going to go ahead and defend the base, and we have to remember, C9, their comeback game against Detonation Focus Me was cordoned in their own base. They had a very good kind of circular, I don't even have a word for this. They had a good idea of how to get around Detonation Focus Me. And it is just KaBuM now on the side of their own base. Cloud9 has no way to get those flanks. They have no way to get Licorice around the sides.
They had the trigonometry on point. All their angles for the flanks were certainly in the right position, and it's a very similar composition here that they're going to be able to use. I think the difference right now is the fact that Tristana is still where she wants to be, even though that last fight wasn't what Cheetan wanted. He dies at the start of it. He's got himself a last whisper, and there is still room for them to just like that.
That'll happen.
That's a bummer. You know, you got stopwatch, you got ultimate, but unfortunately, you don't hit either of the buttons. You just die.
I cannot believe DyNquedo is actually finding these still, or more so, Cloud9 is in positions where this could happen. I mentioned isolated deaths here for KaBuM earlier, and that was something that plagued their momentum in the season. Cloud9 is being stopped short on a lot of things because they're losing members when they should not be losing members.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, couple in the top lane, now that one in the jungle. Just a little bit of disrespect going the short way. He's on vision, so they know exactly where he is, and that's just pop goes a weasel. I'm sure everyone's kind of felt that in solo queue every now and again. And we haven't really talked about DyNquedo all that much because he did fall down in CS, but he was able to move around the map. He was kind of responsible for that first turret pickup, and Leblanc's one of those champions that can be hard to make work in 5v5 team fights, but has navigated them quite successfully so far, and looking the goods.
5-1-1 versus Jensen's 205 for the mid laners. Looking up and down the inventories here. Looks like everybody's kind of evened out on most things. Core items are matched. A GA for Sneaky instead of that penetration that Cheetan's starting to get into.
Yeah, kind of surprised that he went with GA actually, because normally you would see something like a Banshee's Veil picked up for that one ability. Maybe he feels like he is just going to have to fly in the back line. And with that comes a risk of being able to get blown up initially. So wants to be able to stick with a persistent team fight because he does have some good persistent team fighters around him. And this seems to be a theme. Death brushes as Blaber doesn't go for the face check this time around. Just holds the line. Very nicely done.
Lower, I'd say, average than average power play here by C9. They picked up a bit, but the momentum on the map is really what they needed. The ability to reposition. Ranger make an interesting move here, but this extended fight, this is what's been playing in favor of KaBuM. Is this a little too far forward for Ranger, though? He's low, flashes, he's still in the pit, near side, and that's Blaber going in. He wants to kill, but they're not able to get it right away as Ranger still gets the Arctic Assault over the wall. Great job by Licorice to follow on the teleport as well, and they pick up 2 kills onto KaBuM.
And another facepalm moment comes out. Cheetan actually just flashed into a wall, I believe, went into the pit, tried to help out his jungler, but not going to be the case. In Cloud9, with 2 members dead for 30 seconds, can now look to push in and try and break the base. He's had some great moments so far, but the last couple of them have really hurt the KaBuM lineup. And Cloud9 just rubbing their hands together.
20 seconds left on those 2 death timers. Looks like this is all they will get for the mid inhibitor in KaBuM's base, and Cloud9 As a nice wave topside, they can start to escalate
Another
into
hook.
the base, flays him outside as well. Oh my God, sneaky into the base! And it looks like the team might be able to save him. He's just on the edge of Lantern. Hook goes out to the Guardian Angel. It comes up big, even if he would have went down.
And Riv, that is the League of Legends trust ball right there. Sneaky says, I'm going in, catch me, baby. And able to get back out successfully. Looks like they want the fight, however.
That's something the team had to come in on, and now KaBuM can bite back. How much is this fight gonna play in favor of Cloud9? 2 more down for KaBuM. 3 are now dead, and they're gonna get on to Zantin to make sure it's the ace and make sure it's the victory for Cloud9. Nexus turrets in their eyes as they start that push.
And you gotta respect the gusto. They go for the team fight. It does not work. Cloud9 gonna take the win.
Cloud9 again pushed back and forth, but not to the limits this time. Cloud9 in 34 minutes on the Nexus, and they take down KaBuM.
And you gotta say, that was actually a pretty nice game to watch. You know, back and forward for the start of it. Cloud9, good early game advantages. KaBuM hitting back, and you can see they knew that game was close. They had it in their hands, but a couple of crucial errors from their young players come back, and that's been the tale of this group. You know, the rookies versus the rookies, and right now, Cloud9 standing strong as North America's 3rd seed.
Feeling very happy about kind of coming out with a bit of a cleaner game, but another game where they can find where flaws happen. They can find out why they actually went down so early. Or not down so early, but up and then fell back in that mid-game fight all the way to 5-5 when KaBuM was saying, hey, Cloud9's playing a little too sure of themselves, and maybe that's what they need to start curbing.
Absolutely, but I think that you do really have to applaud the draft phase, because this was a team comp that could split up on the map and collapse very easily. So once again, they just had so many avenues to be able to attack that KaBuM lineup, and that forces mistakes. When you've got all the decisions and they have to play it perfectly, especially when it's a lineup like KaBuM that like to take those aggressive plays, you can kind of force out the errors, and I think that's exactly what happened.
That was awesome to watch. I'm really glad we got to see a few of those. And to break down how C9 secured the #1 seed, let's hear from the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Rivington. They did secure a 1st seed, but damn, was it... It was close. Come on. Let's be honest here. KaBuM put up one hell of a fight, and I'm not sure how it ended up in that position because they did get first blood. Everything seemed to be going well. So can you guys break down of how this game became so interesting?
This was a game where it felt like C9 had a lot of plays that they were making that should have been really explosively in their favor. Like conceptually, all of them were pretty good plays, but their execution on all of them came up just short enough that they never closed the door on KaBuM. And then KaBuM made a ton of good plays to get back in the game as well.
Yeah, you're right about the execution, and I'm going to focus more towards Blaber because on the Nocturne pick, there are a few Nocturne players in the LPL that I look towards. ML actually is a good indicator of that, where you can actually maximize the Nocturne, like the darkness of that one. You don't have to just jump straight in. So there was a few times where he either killed himself or the bot lane died, even though he got 2 kills off. It was like, well, you went in way too early. So there are just a few points that they can actually tweak to get incredible leads. This was the second one, actually, when they got a great teleport on the Galio to come in behind and counteract the dive coming through from this team.
Right, the big thing about this is if you time the Nocturne ult correctly, they'll have no idea this Galio ult is coming in, and so Nocturne could have ulted the closest target as opposed to the Tristana all the way in the back line to distract them so Galio gets a 4-man taunt. Instead, he goes for the closest target. Here, they actually could have gone while the minion wave is there. Galio does not need a blast cone to get into the fight. He has his ultimate, so they should have just instantly went off the fact that the minion wave was crashing. Instead, they wait till the minion wave dies and then commit anyway now that people are closer to coming in. DyNquedo's closer behind, Ranger is closer behind, and this could have been turned much worse for them. All of these plays that they had could easily have been 3 for O's and turrets being taken, but they were not clean enough at all, and especially, like you said, the Nocturne always going in too far or too early.
Yeah, we're commanding the like aggressiveness and the initiative, I guess, but it needs to be cleaned up left and right, and also the fact that it turned into in such a close game. We do have a replay to show what happened exactly in the top lane. That was just one of the moments where KaBuM, also to their credit, did very well. I also just want to talk about DyNquedo throughout this entire game. I think he was a standout player.
And G10 immediately getting straight on top of Licorice. So just this is a point where KaBuM, you have to be having great communication in this moment or C9 will be able to come right back. Sneaky getting chunked out, so DyNquedo, as you've already mentioned, on top of his game to be able to clean that up. So this is a great opportunity for KaBuM to be able to pick up the fight, separate the carries, and move on towards the Baron.
Yeah, and unfortunately for them, Licorice was able to come back with his ultimate available. His Zanya's picked up, and so he's able to run decoy, like Jad was saying, with this aftershock Lissandra staying alive for so long. as well as the Galio, who's kind of a tank as well. They're actually able to get a kill here and just barely have Licorice get out. So they get 2 for 0 off the back of what was almost looking like a disastrous play again.
And I think it's rightfully so that we look at, why this game could have turned on its head, because we have to remember that C9 is, of course, the 3rd seed from the NALCS and carry expectations with them and are expected to get to the group stage. So what do you guys think of what we've seen so far in some of the games? I also want to call up the Detonation Focus Me game, where we thought, okay, this is the one-off. Is this then the two-off? And what can we say about the level of the play?
I feel like all the teams that we've seen in Group C are actually not like overperform or underperform. This feels like their level. Like C9 can drop these games. They haven't done it yet. They've been just barely clean enough to avoid it, but both KaBuM and Detonation had games that were very winnable. KaBuM and Detonation were trading against each other in games, so it feels like C9's a leg up, but just barely.
Yeah, and I would say if it goes into a best of 5, that Cloud9 is the better team. They should move over towards the group stage. But these are good lessons to learn, and I wanted to start having that discussion between Sven and the other jungler, Blaber.
Well, I do agree. When you say it'll be fine in the best of 5, we just said that they barely get these games, and we saw 2 of them now. You have to win 3 in a best of 5. I don't know. I don't think it's as clear-cut. I definitely don't think they'll drop it, but I think it could become close against some of the 2nd seeds, possibly.
Right. I mean, like, regardless of Group B, G2, or Supermassive, like, that's a team that I think has a great chance against C9, even if they get out as a 1 seed. So I think, they have a lot of things that they need to clean up, and obviously whoever's getting out in the 2nd seed is still up in the air.
Yes.
And remember, the hardest group for them, if they're going up against a 2nd seed, it would be Group B. So if they ever go up against a G2 or a Supermassive, that's when it gets really dicey, to your point. So I actually appreciate that, and I want to see if that's the case. I think it would still be Cloud9 coming in as favorites, but should be clean for any.
I think they should be the favorites in whatever matchup they end up in. They also still have that match versus Detonation Focus Me at the end of the day, where they can just show what they've learned now in this one. Then on the fact of KaBuM, what did we think of that? And do we think they'll be able to repeat their success over Detonation Focus Me in the last game? They need to.
They need to, I would say.
Oh, if they get a tiebreaker. Apologies.
Yeah, exactly, if that ends up happening. So my biggest issue for KaBuM has actually just been how they played Barons. 3 times out of the entire, the last 2 days that we've seen from them have been disastrous around Barons, and whether they want to pick fights or how they actually end up sending someone over to secure the Baron. It's rough. These are, honestly, you look to these, and these are easily solvable plays. In their own region, a lot of the times they haven't been having those issues. They've been coming back from Baron situations. So it's rough. I would say, I already mentioned it beforehand, that I have a lot of faith in Detonation Focus Me to come out ahead on this one, if the tiebreaker does come through.
Okay, we'll see if that happens. To round out this game, we also have to announce our MasterCard player of the game, Sneaky. We saw a wonderful move at the end of the game. I don't know at what point we'll be seeing that, but he just jumped in as Kaisa. He didn't give it F.
That's a fair way of putting it. He did a lot of kind of hero plays, always getting out of close situations like this. Jitan was looking for him, DyNquedo was looking for him, and a number of times he goes in once he gets the pressure off of himself and follows up on the rest of the dive comp. Oh, people always talk about, the hyper carry Kaisa, but she is a fantastic diving champion, and you pair that with Leblanc, Lissandra and Thresh and the Galio. There's so many tools here to pull the attention off of him. Unlike this one, where he has complete attention on himself.
Yeah, and he's just calling for the play just because he has Guardian Angel. Even if they just blow him up, he knows that his team wants to pick up the fight anyways. So these are great calls, understanding when's a great fight. And then to the first play that actually was made from him, being able to duck and dodge a lot of the plays. The Tristana on top of him, DyNquedo a little bit farther on afterwards, calling a lot of attention to himself, and being able to duck and dodge, waiting for his team.
When we talk about trust in C9 being able to win that best of 5 and get into the group stage, is he the guy we're thinking about, that even with the things that are murky in some of the other lanes at some point, is he then the rock, or is it someone else?
I think he's going to be someone that they lean pretty heavily on. They've been taking Kaisa early pretty often, and we were concerned as North American viewers of his laning phase. We thought that was something he might get exploited on. Hasn't really happened at all this tournament so far, and I don't think it'll happen in the best of 5. So he does feel like someone that a lot of people will be continuing to hope plays well.
Yeah, and I think he just holds them down in team fights. 100% he's an incredible team fighter. So if I'm looking about one player on the team that's going to come out, have higher expectations on, is Blaber. I think for Blaber, if he comes out as a great frontliner, kind of holds enough space so his AD carry can work, then this team looks so much better.
Okay, 2 of the guys we're looking at. So let's check up with the standings, as of course C9 is now locked in first place. So if Cloud9 beat That Nation Focus Me later, that means that KaBuM and That Nation Focus Me get a tiebreaker to see who else goes through. If That Nation Focus Me beats them, it's all over for KaBuM. We'll see if that happens. Of course, everything is already decided in Group D, unfortunately, for the action.
Yeah, I just want to see what Cloud9 does with their extra game. Now, they've played Blaber the entire time. This time around, you'd actually want to bring out Sven just to see if he can bring something else. You can see which one's the better choice going into a best of 5.
Well, maybe we'll find out, because I believe Avali is standing by with the victorious top laner, Licorice.
Thanks, guys. I am here with Licorice. Congratulations on that win. Now, you started this year as a rookie. You became the backbone of your team during summer, and now you're taking down all of every international region's top laner down with you. So how do you really reflect on your performance this year?
I mean, I think I've definitely grown a lot as a player. I think for anyone's first year in LCS, you're going to change a lot, like, as a player. And I mean, as a person too, but mainly as a player. So I think I've just kind of, I don't know, gotten a lot better.
And your last game of the day is versus Detonation Focus Me. And last time you faced them, you guys had a little bit kind of a struggle against them. So how is today going to be different?
Well, we're going to try to not make so many mistakes and just try to close the game out cleanly as soon as we get a lead. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and I wish you the best of luck in that next match. And we're going to be taking a quick break, but stick around, because right after, we're going to see KLG take on G-Rex.
Hey guys, we're at the club, but we have a headset on. What are we doing?
We're at the club?
We're at the
dancing
club?
right now. Dance.
Hey.
Looks like they're gonna get the force flash here on Zantins. He tries to get away from the terror, but he will not. Trying to flee in the right direction, but it's not gonna help anyways. Blood in the water. And Blaber goes down. KaBuM is chasing Cloud9 back to their base, and DyNquedo is looking for Sneaky in the brush. He finds the kill, and KaBuM come up huge. Second, Riyev close to going down, but he gets the shield and he's safe. That's gonna be Zantins low, Cheaton low. They're all in the pit still. Licorice forced to use the stopwatch once again.
Find this.
Taunting above?
Yeah.
I have Sedge.
Yeah, look at Sedge. Sedge flash, can we go?
I can maybe.
Let's go.
How much is this fight gonna play in favor of Cloud9? 2 more down for KaBuM, 3 are now dead, and they're gonna get on to Zantin.
Welcome to Level Up, presented by State Farm, where we take things you know about the game and share the little details that help you crush the Nexus like a pro. Whether it's how to solo Drake or crush teamfights on Vlad, send your suggestions on what we can do for future episodes. Everyone knows that Rift Herald can demolish turrets in the blink of an eye. So today, we're sharing some tips to take down that bulldozing beast. As of patch 8.13, the epic monster we lovingly refer to as Shelly has 3 attacks. Basic attacks, which deal 4% of your current health. Her charge, which does 200% physical damage, and the swipe, which dispenses a whopping 300% physical damage. Make use of Rift Herald's long windups within the pit to dodge her swipe and charge. This will allow you to take Shelly without losing all of your health in the process. Remember to play around the eye on her back to inflict 12% for maximum health, and you'll be soloing Shelly in no time.